Hello and welcome to New Perspective አዲስቅኝት ሚዲያ.
My son is 25 years old and he suffers from mental illness.
New Perspective አዲስቅኝት media is a Toronto-based digital and broadcasting media outlet that focuses on immigration, literature and art, community and culture.
The title of the doctors, you're there to give and there's a receiver. I'm on that end. I always were prideful. I always thought I could do everything myself, very independent. But now I'm on the receiving end. And I'm going to graciously take that. So the goal of what I want here is one, because I feel I encourage myself.
If you have comments, questions or suggestions, please email us at addisቅኝት@gmail.com or call us at 647-761-7252.
You can listen to our weekly live radio on iHeartRadio, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and download our app. Please visit our website at www.addisperspective.com.
Eden Msganau, she's a real estate salesperson for Remax Premier Brokerage, and she's a mom, so she will share with us her experience in life or in day-to-day life of her and her family. Thank you very much.
So yeah, like you said, my name is Eden. I have 2 children. Dr. Samir had presented what he presented, and I kind of have the opposite experience of the system, which is good. There's both aspects for you to look at. I'm a mom. My son is 25 years old, and he suffers from mental illness. I never, in my wildest dream, I would be dealing with this. I was 100% he was going to be the president of the country. Just like, it's just we never even do this. And let me talk about stigma, okay? Mine is everything, okay? So when that gets hurt, everything gets hurt. Within a family, there's a fight because everybody blames everybody. Not only that person suffers, the husband blames the wife blames the husband. There's got to be something somewhere. I never see anything like this before. And one thing that surprised me the most is this. When we grew up poor, like I remember all the school, everybody where we grew, I don't remember this kind of situation. I don't know how, what they're saying is 1 in 5 is suffering with mental health. So my baby, my handsome baby, like I remember the first time we experienced, he just didn't want to eat food. And like it went on 2 days, 3 days, and it was like he was getting skinny, he didn't want to drink. He said he was fasting. And it was like after 4 or 5, of course we were so afraid of him. Then he stopped talking. It was just like, so now I had to call the medical system to help us out. And when I called them, this is where the problem is. You know what, let me tell you this. I would never want this for any human being. This is just a horrible experience. You have to explain to your parents, you have to explain to the parents. And I kind of align with those people that blame, oh, there must be something going on in that family. Why did that happen? I had 2 children. He's young, my daughter's 19. We had the same food from the beginning. She always loved vegetables, celery, broccoli. She was A student. She's functioning in every way, A+. She did everything by herself. And my son loves sugar. He loves the video. He loves, and we were very well-rounded. I know I still very well, but like, well, I would consider ourselves middle class. We had spiritual, we had social, we were able to provide everything. As a matter of fact, when things falling apart, we were able to put him at a school that's like right now about $70,000 a year. Like we pretty much mortgage everything. But the point is, environment is everything. Environment is everything. So what I love to get to do, and nobody wants to come out with this type of thing. You don't want to talk about this. Because who wants to talk about their child is dying every day, they're watching them, they never know what's gonna happen next, and losing all the peers they used to influence. My son, when he was growing, everybody followed him. All his cousins, he was the oldest one. He's just, you know, he had extreme confidence. I remember we live in Bolton in the suburb, and people would go, oh my God, what did you eat? You smell? You go, he blew on them. He was so confident. Now, everybody's too busy for him. He locked himself in a what is this? What is there to talk about? And the only thing that gives me is my spiritual, like God. God is the only hope I have. I talk to him. Dear God, I can't believe, is this real? Does this really happen? And he goes, yeah, like look at what happened to Jesus, to Paul, to every big figure. I go, but like even Jesus had only 3 years. We're dealing with this for so many years. Dear God, what's going on? But anyways, there is a reason, there's a purpose. He told me every single person, whether you guys who have the title, the doctors, you're there to give, and there's a receiver. I'm on that end. I always were prideful. I always thought I could do everything myself, very independent. But now I'm on the receiving end. And I'm going to graciously take that. So the goal of what I want here is one, because I encourage my son. I told my son, there's a purpose. I bet you're going to build this thing up, and then you're going to say, I did it. And you're going to share this with a lot of people, how we did it. So one of my goals I have with this is to really connect with other parents. Other parents don't want to talk to their friends because they're going to judge them, right? They're going to say, because you didn't do this, because you had, they always have a reason why. But we want to get together. If the old friends are gone, new friends are coming. How do we support each other? What is the solution for it? Somebody could have some solution for me that I don't know about. So I want us to share. And also, my dream eventually is I want to have a great place where these children, where these kids, where their youth get together and do something. Like, I mean, I don't know, they work out. They talk. I mean, the other thing is with the mental health situation, he tells me, Mom, this is what I'm experiencing. I go, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? Mom, why don't you tell him to go down, whatever, you know? Mom, it just, like he cannot talk to me because I'm not experiencing what he's experiencing, okay? The only person that he could talk to is somebody who's experiencing what he's experiencing. So I would want the children to connect together and be able to do, what is it that we could do so that they can be productive? So what is it they do? They don't lock themselves. What is it, you know? So share information with parents. I mean, again, unfortunately, I'm a single mom. I have to provide. I have my parents. Again, like as I say, it's just a lot of responsibility. So I wish if I didn't have financial issue support, I would leave everything every single day, 24 hours, find out the solution. What is it that I could tell? Recently, I had a surgery, breast surgery, like every woman afraid of. Like I was like, that's it. Like this is the second time, and I never cared anything about myself. All along, what is my son's gonna do? That was the only thing in my mind. So to have that support system, where if I'm gone, there's somebody else that understands, that could take over, and not even your immediate family could deal with this. This is something that somebody else who had experienced it that could do it. So again, to touch base, let me tell you another thing from our experience. For my son, one of the things that brought this is the modern drug, okay? Marijuana causes psychosis in some people. I mean, I don't understand why the doctors do not disclose this. I find out, I know it was bad. I know it does stuff to people, but I did not realize in some cases it will be a permanent damage, okay? So that's another thing. What do you guys, as younger ones, starting a new family, how do you let your family grow with each other? Like, the culture is another one. We grew up in a middle-class neighborhood, but it was totally different culture that they have. They allow kids to watch all kinds of stuff, 3 o'clock. So, just your own culture. See, when we grow up, we had this system. Our parents, the school, the church, the neighbor, everybody was on the same page. Okay? Don't do this, do this. It was clear. Right now, oh, if you feel this way. And as a parent, when it came to a situation where I thought my son was going to hurt himself or myself, I called the police. I remember we live in Vaughan, we're the only black people on that street. There was like 6 police that came, and of course in his mind, in his psyche, he saw police. There's this paranoid that goes on with black youth, and of course with his mental state too. I'm begging help, and these guys are afraid to help. They're afraid to touch. They're watching me. Actually, one of the lady had to take me to the kitchen when they put him down, and I wanted to be there to see him. But the point is, there is this confusion for the police force as well.
Hello.
They don't know how to help us because they're afraid if they do anything, they're gonna get caught as well. So I had to lie for them to take my son. Okay, because if they didn't, sooner or later, something bad was going to happen. And of course, he never forgives me for that, but I try to explain that to him. And just to let you know as well, just recently, parents got murdered with their own beautiful son. He killed both his mom and his dad. Because with this system, when somebody is mentally ill, unless they do something, nothing happens. That mom was so worried. She needed help. Please, my son needs help. Please, my son needed, no, I mean, he didn't do anything. Like, he's fine. So the point, that is one thing that killed me. I had to lock myself in the bathroom, call for help, So the point I'm trying to make is, we need the parent support group. That the whole point is we'll exchange ideas. So, for example, not only the mental ill person situation, their finances is another one, okay? I attended a lot of support group where, in my opinion, some of them are horrible. Like, just like divorce your son, let him do whatever he wants to do, you're yourself, he's yourself. There's all kinds of advice, like, no, he's my blood and flesh, I cannot deny my son. Like, and then I'm the weird one sitting there trying to fight to continue a relationship with my sons. So I want to have my own community support system where we're bonded. I was watching Helen over there with her brother, when we grew up, we're supposed to be the take care of our brothers and sisters. Here, we live in a society where everybody is for their own, the children. So we just have to bring it to that point. You are a keeper of your brother, right? So I really admire the fact that you were there for your brother lifelong. That's just incredible. So that is something that everybody should do. So the other thing is, there's so many information that we can share. For example, RDSP, that's a registered, disability support system. For example, they send a letter. If you put $4,000, you'll have $10,000 coming. It just grows up fast, and most people don't know about that. How do you save for that child that's on disability? Okay, what natural? And do you need a lawyer, right? Because I'm telling you, even when they grow up, when my son grew up, first he was diagnosed with ADHD and then opposite defiant disorder and all that stuff. And there's a lot of mischievous stuff that are happening. So again, having a lawyer to say the right thing to defend you is something that's important for parents. So I guess generally did that, but I guess I am for parent support group. No one care about their children more than their parents. I had been through psychiatrists where, especially the first psychiatrists we had, were not the best ones, because I was telling like the psychiatrist, sir, please tell him cannot take the medication and marijuana. Tell him. And you say, yeah, just bring him in. And we sat down, and he told him, what's the problem? He told him the reason why he thinks he needs this stuff. In front of me, I just talked to him. So what's your problem? Take everything. The legal system. I remember my son took this marijuana, like he told me, Mom, he had a car accident, he had hurt his back. Mom said, you know what? See, Mom, this is medically approved. This is legal, it helps. I mean, when it comes to marijuana promoters, if you have a problem finding a girlfriend, it helps you. If you have not good at school, it helps you. If you lack money, it gives you. They just market that so much to the kids, right? So I remember he took that with Shoppers Drug Mart delivery that came to him, and the next week, history's changed. I don't have my child anymore. So the point I'm trying to make is there's so many information as parents we can exchange. That support group is very, very important, and hence and trust. But there's so many stuff that's available for kids with disability. But at the same time, unless we exchange that information, we don't. So I just want to tell this committee, I don't know if you don't have already an existing parent, let's connect us. That way we could be able to tackle this issue. Again, too much is given, much is expected. I really, even though it's just a tough situation, I thank God for the role that I was given. I really hope with the information I have, with the experience I have, I can help another parent. Thank you so much, everybody. God bless.
Media.
New Perspective አዲስቅኝት Media is a Toronto-based digital and broadcasting media outlet that focuses on immigration, literature and art, community and culture.
If you have comments, questions or suggestions, please email us at addisqኝት@gmail.com or call us at 647-761-7252.
You can listen to our weekly live radio on iHeartRadio, subscribe to our YouTube channel and download our app. Please visit our website at www.addisperspective.com.
I want to present on to why I'm here. So again, my name is Dr. Samir Bullet. I'm a psychiatry resident at the University of Toronto. I'm predominantly in CAMH. But I think the reason I'm here is a little deeper than that. So if you didn't know anything about me, my parents were both refugees from Ethiopia. Came here in the early 90s. I was born in St. Mike's, grew up in Regent Park, then moved to the Rexdale area where I grew up there. If you know anything about the Rexdale area, it's full of immigrant communities, many different working backgrounds. I had a beautiful time. There was different people from everywhere, and where we didn't have much, we were still able to get by. However, there were things that were happening in the community that I think we don't properly talk about, that I think were very obvious to me and a lot of the kids that I was growing up with. So I used to hear about shootings all the time. So it used to start with a whisper of a friend, then it would be a friend, then it'd be my cousins, then my brothers got shot at, then one of my best friends is in a wheelchair, because the gun violence in some of these communities that we don't speak about ripples through these communities. So some of the work that I started with was just trying to show that gun violence and its connections to mental health, because what I was seeing was the violence and the trauma of a bullet doesn't just stop once you shoot that bullet. It is the reverberations in the communities that happen for the years and decades afterwards when you lose somebody who you never expected to, and you lose that sense of safety, and that's what I work with. So if you go to the next slide, please. So I want to just start with some basic facts and try to talk about the state of black mental health in Ontario and go from there. So I'm going to give a very general overview about what we're dealing with. So I want to give some facts. So one of the facts I want to start with is people from Caribbean, East, West African origin in Ontario have a 60% increased risk of psychosis. So when I deal with a lot of schizophrenia in the hospital, and when I see young East African youth, black youth, going through a situation where, they don't have a lot of the support, they don't know what's going on when they have these situations happen to them. And we have such statistics like 23% of black youth being introduced to the mental health system by police. So the introduction of mental health and policing is so intertwined in our communities that we don't see it sometimes as the thing that can help us, because it is used against us a lot of the time. So the healthcare system hasn't always been there to serve us, and we have to understand what's going on. So I want to break it down to three main topics that I think we have to focus on. So it's the anti-black racism that many of us do know through our experiences in Canada that does still exist and is still a very big part of the healthcare system. Limited access to care, so the resources will always be something that we have to deal with, and not getting it timely when it's needed. And then stigma. I think stigma is a huge proportion that we don't talk about properly, because there's issues from other communities looking towards us and the black communities, and us looking at ourselves that I think we have to deal with. Next slide, please. So again, these are the three main issues that I want to talk about. So I'm going to start with anti-black racism, talking about that, the stigma within and outside of our communities, and then going to that lack of resources. Next slide. All right, can you click it 2 more times, please? All right. So systemic barriers. So anti-black racism. We know a lot of the statistics that we see. So access to practitioners is delayed for black youth overall. So black Caribbean populations wait on average 16 months to access mental health care when the average time for a white person would be 8. So we spend double the time to get access to care versus the average population. And then also the overrepresentation in involuntary services. So when we do access the mental health care system, it's usually through the emergency department or via the police. So when people are already in crisis is when we finally deal with the system. And that's something I see constantly, and it's unacceptable sometimes. So the data shows black Ontarians are likely to see longer delays accessing care, more likely to experience adverse pathways to care, such as through the emergency room or police, than people of white European descent. And then we also know these things with the practitioner-related barriers. So we have practitioners, I've had professors in the past that tell me a lot of the things that are happening in their community are not happening. You know, we have the idea of implicit biases, not understanding the idea of where these people come from or the things that impact them, and thinking that people are inherently violent or inherently bad, when these are things that, you know, I would say time and time again, people are a product of the circumstances. If we don't improve those circumstances, how can we expect them to do better? And then we have the personal and cultural barriers. So again, when it comes to these different communities trying to interact with a system that was never made to initially work for them, we have to kind of understand that there takes a lot of work. There's a lot of trying to go against the system, brushing against it, and sometimes we have to really figure out how to make this easier for us. So next slide, please. So I want to give a story, actually. So I work with many groups. One of the groups I'm very lucky to work with is Doctors for Defunding the Police. So I'm one of the co-founders of a group that focuses on the scoping of policing being too broad, and that the idea that the majority of the things that police are sent to do in our communities are non-violent in nature. I think this last statistics were 80% plus of the calls that police have are non-violent in nature. And if we have these police officers being sent to non-violent mental health calls, addiction calls, homelessness calls, domestic violence, these things that could be very much solved without somebody with a gun. We are losing a lot of the resources that we could have. So I want to tell the story about how it not just stops us from having the resources we need, but at times it actively works against us in the mental health care system trying to work with these patients. So this person, Dr. Ms. Chantal Krupka, she's an amazing woman who was unfortunately shot during a domestic dispute. There's a domestic dispute called on Mother's Day. The police came, there was an altercation, and she ended up getting shot in the stomach. She ended up going to the ICU not knowing she was going to make it. But what happened was the police gave direct information to the doctors that were there at the time, and the doctors took it at verbatim. So what the police had said was she had been aggravated, she had assaulted them, and she was going to be charged as well. So this was the whole point, was she was saying that she was the instigator of these effects. But what had happened was when us as mental health providers tried to work with her and try to say, okay, what happened? She was completely shut down. She had a system that just kind of worked against her. She saw that if the doctors are just going to believe what the police say verbatim, then why do I even have to talk? And it was only after, until we got the documentation to come out as to what happened, that we were able to get some justice for her, and the police officer who shot her was eventually fired. But to get to that point, she had to go through so much turmoil and fighting the system to get her documentation, to show proof. And I really want to show that us in the mental health care system, when we have to work with the police like this, and there's such a distrust with certain communities because of the things that they're experiencing constantly, we're fighting an uphill battle. So I think we have to be honest about what we're seeing at the time. So next slide, please. So stigma. This is, please, if you take one thing home, this will be one of the biggest things. But this study, so there was a study conducted by Ottawa Public Health where they showed that 66% of participants, these are black participants, believe that most people would think less of somebody who's affected by mental illness. So listen to what I just said. 66, so two out of every three black people think that if you're affected by a mental illness, you would think of that person as less than. And even more than that, 40% of them believe that seeking treatment for a mental health issue is a sign of personal failure. Do you see what we're doing to ourselves? We're really putting this on our own backs and within our own communities and really keeping it hush-hush. When what I see constantly is people that look like us all the time coming in severe crisis. When what we need is a proactive stance on all of this stuff and getting people as soon as possible. Because we have other studies like this. So people who rank their own, black Canadians who rank their own mental health as poor or fair, we're 25% less likely to seek mental health treatment. So even when we know we have these issues, we don't seek help. And again, this could be to the point where, 60% of Black Canadians would be more willing to use mental health services if the provider was Black, if they understand the cultural competence. So maybe that's something we can work on. But we have to take new approaches to dealing with these issues because it's getting very bad in the ED some of the time. I just want to give an example of some of the work that we were able to do. So I don't know if some of you were able to be there, but we were holding a Black mental health speaker series where we would bring professionals working in various fields of mental health to groups of the community overall to just talk about the research and talk about what was going on and really try to bring community gaps together. And what we noticed was there were so many similar patterns because we'd open it up to questions in the end. And so many families, so many groups just experiencing the same things over and over again. The idea that, in all of our houses we have somebody who's suffering. We all have somebody we love who's suffering from depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, drug addiction, suicide. So many things that we face, but we seem to face them in darkness. So, if you go to the next slide, please. So, limited access to resources. So I want to, again, really hark on this last thing, that at the same time, we have issues like mental health is a huge burden in our overall system, but we don't really appreciate it sometimes. So if you knew that 1 of every 3 people on ODSP currently is due to mental health, like we have a system where our mental health is impacting our physical ability to do things and work and be the productive people that we want to be, but sometimes we just kind of brush it off. We have we spoke about it earlier about the collective culture of, trying to keep it hush-hush, but a lot of the times to be able to do the best that you need to do, you need to be honest about this. Next slide, please. I'm going to go a little bit fast just because I know we're a little bit behind on time. So I want to bring this up just because I feel like a lot of people know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but I feel like we don't apply it all the time when it comes to the work that we see. So it's the idea that if we don't deal with the basic physiological needs of safety, society, food, the idea is that people have the basics before they can move on, then we're never going to move up to the ideas where, people feel like they belong. People feel like they have a self-esteem. And the goal of self-actualization, where people feel like they have purpose and they feel like they're really a part of the society, right? So we're really failing even before we even get a chance with so many people because they're struggling paycheck to paycheck, day to day, not even able to think about anything greater than that. Next slide, please. So this was from our last event actually, so Liba's there, looking good. We have, so investing in these community resources. So how do we really get against this, and what does investing in community resources look like? So it looks like this, right? Being here today, working together, trying to network and understand that, there's a lot more that we have available between us than we're gonna give credit for. And unless we're talking and understanding what's available, then it'd be impossible to deal with a lot of the issues that we're all dealing with, to be completely honest. Next slide, please. So this is the study I want people to go home with, because it really blows me away that this isn't one of the biggest studies that is pushed into the public. Have any of you heard of the ACEs study, the adverse childhood experiences? The idea that, physical trauma, emotional trauma, PTSD, a lot of us come from war-torn, like my parents had war-torn leaving Ethiopia when things were going down. So they had a lot of trauma that they didn't talk about. And when we understand that with ACEs, there's the direct correlation between these traumatic experiences you have in your childhood and physical ailments that you would have later on. So we have statistics that show people have 4 or more of these traumatic ACEs, right? So it's physical, sexual, whatever traumas they are. They could have up to 200% more likely to have diabetes, 300% more likely to have heart disease, 400% more likely to have COPD. So these are physical ailments that are directly impacted by the trauma that exists in our childhood. And my whole job and the work that I do specifically with youth is trying to break a lot of these cycles to make sure that we have the healthiest and happiest population that we can. So again, to really, really draw down the points that we're seeing. So there's connections here between poverty, gun violence, which is my initial work, and mental health. So if you know anything about this map, this is the map of Toronto that shows, so it's the northwest, northeast, and downtown core, that's a little bit dark blue. Those are the communities that are most impacted most by poverty, gun violence, most police, most deaths during COVID-19, slowest for the fire trucks to reach when there's a crisis. So pretty much everything that's bad is kind of circled in certain communities when it comes to Toronto, the GTA. And I think that what we have to start understanding about these issues is when we silo violence in the community off as just a one-off or just as, just a issue that police can deal with. We're missing the depths of these issues, right? The idea is these people are suffering in these communities long before these shootings are happening. And what we're supposed to do and what we have to focus on is, this is a public health issue, this is a health issue that we need to focus from the first day that these kids are getting involved. So, next slide please. And again, just an example of some of the work we've been able to do. So through my work with Doctors for Protection from Guns, we've been able to also work with Messiah Jiri, Justin Trudeau a couple of times to just really try to focus on, this is in Rexdale, so we actually brought him to like Rexdale Community Center. Trudeau had to come with all his motorcades and all this stuff to come here, but the idea being that these issues, we know the solutions to these things because there's been people in these communities screaming in the void for decades. All the stuff that I'm saying is just stealing from people that came before me. I'm just trying to push their voice up because what we're seeing is just a pattern that just happens over and over again. And if we lose another generation of children, the exact same violence that I was seeing growing up, that would be a shame, specifically when we have so many resources and so many people here that could do so much better. So, I'm a psychiatry resident, so if I don't talk about taking care of our own mental health, I feel like that'd be a shame. So, some just takeaways that I hope that, people do when they understand about their own mental health is just, please just never feel ashamed to seek help. Even when it comes to speaking to your family, the people you love, the community, people around you. Not just coming to a doctor, right? That's another step, but being open can be so important as a first step. Number two, just having a good community of people around you. Like, are you isolated? Are you constantly working? Do you feel that you can speak what's on your mind when you need to? Right? These are the things that people need, and we have to make sure that we have a system to have this type of thing. And being kind to yourself and having patience, because if you're not going to be kind to yourself, nobody will be. Right? If you don't take the time you need to take care of yourself, to slow down, to find the things that give you purpose and make you happy, it's going to be impossible, right? So we have to be honest about this stuff. All right? And some easy accessible resources, just in case anybody wants them, but Black Health Alliance is great. They have a bunch of resources there. Taivu, as always, is amazing and somewhere we should always be consulting with and trying to work with. There's also the Canadian Mental Health Association, and they also have online programs now, so if people don't want to leave their homes, they don't feel safe actually interacting with the healthcare system, then there's online programs that we'd like to use too. And also, please, if anyone is ever in crisis, please don't be scared to use the ED at your local hospital or CAMH specifically. I might be there, but it's the idea that it's not wrong to need help. We will all fall at some point, and we will all know somebody that falls, so please understand and be proactive when it comes to this stuff. All right, so take-home points. Anti-Black racism is still a very significant issue, whether we like to speak about it or not. Stigma within the community and our views towards mental health definitely have to change. That is something that we can do internally, right? It's something we can focus on. And a lack of mental health resources and resources overall is something that we have to fight for. It's not just going to be given to us. We have to do our best to advocate, speak what we need, do the political things that have to happen to make sure that these conversations get better as we move on, right? We don't want to keep beating the same horse over and over again. And the last thing, but having a strong foundation of support, you find your community because you cannot pour from an empty cup. All right. So the last, I want to leave you guys with a proverb. But if you want to go anywhere fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Thank you.
Samir, before you go off, one more time. I know it's been a long afternoon, but a big round of applause for Samir. For those that don't know, he was working all night. He's actually post-call as a resident. I remember those days as a surgical resident. They're not kind to you. So for him to give this type of impassioned presentation to a community, to us, as a community member, it means a lot to us. So Samir, thank you so much for your time.
be like this. We don't do this in African parties. That's not how we participate. So, I know you guys don't want to get sweaty, but I appreciate you guys clapping and enjoying with us. But I would like you guys to sing a little bit with us today, if you don't mind. Do you mind singing a little bit with us today? Alright, cool. Good energy. So, very easy words. You're going to say, Oya, Yombe, Kuku, Fournier. One more time. Oya, Yombe, Kuku, Fournier. Alright. So, a little bit slower, please, drummers. They're not pros. So in time, Oya, Yombe, Kuku, Fournier. Your turn. Yombe, Kuku, Fournier. My turn. Oya, Yombe, Kuku, Fournier. Your turn. Oya, Yombe, Kuku, Fournier. One more time. Oya, my turn. Yombe, Kuku,
This is New Perspective አዲስቅኝት ሚዲያ። If you have comments, questions or suggestions, please write to us at addisqኝት@gmail.com. Thank you for your support.